I asked her to repeat the address, not because I didn't hear it, but because I needed to be absolutely sure I wasn't imagining it. She read it again, slow this time. Every word landed heavier than the last. Street, city, zip code, and at the end, my name. Not just similar, exact. That's when something cold crawled up my spine, because I knew that address. I just hadn't thought about it in years, and there was only one reason I would. It was my childhood home, the one I left the night I cut them off, the one I swore I'd never go back to. So why was my name tied to it now? I told the woman there had to be a mistake, that I hadn't lived there in years, that I didn't own anything. But she didn't argue. She just went quiet for a second. Then she asked me something worse. Are you aware you've missed 3 consecutive mortgage payments? That's when my brain just stopped. Mortgage, payments, missed. None of those words belong to me. I don't even like long-term commitments. I rent. I move. I keep things simple. So how could I be behind on something I never signed? I told her again. This wasn't mine. It couldn't be. But she didn't sound convinced. She said my social security number was on file, my full legal name, my date of birth. Everything matched perfectly, too perfectly. And suddenly, I wasn't confused anymore. I was scared, because there's only one place that information could have come from, and there's only 2 people who had it. The same 2 people I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. My parents. I hung up, not because the call was over, but because I couldn't breathe. I just stared at my phone, waiting for it to ring again, hoping it wouldn't, but knowing it would. And it did. 10 seconds later, same number. I almost didn't answer. Part of me wanted to pretend none of this was real, but the other part, the part that remembered everything they'd ever done, that part knew. This wasn't random, so I picked up. And this time, I didn't argue. I just asked one question. When was the mortgage opened? There was a pause, typing. Then she said a date, and I felt something inside me drop. Because that date, that exact date, was 2 weeks after I left home, 2 weeks after I went no contact, 2 weeks after my parents told me I'd regret walking away. And suddenly, it wasn't confusing anymore. It was deliberate. They didn't just take my information, they used it. Right after I disappeared from their lives, like they were waiting for it, like they planned it. I asked her for the loan documents, everything, every signature, every file. She hesitated, said it might take time, but I didn't care. I needed proof, because part of me still wanted to believe this was some kind of misunderstanding, even though deep down, I already knew it wasn't. The documents came 2 days later. Email attachment, 7 files. I stared at them for almost an hour before opening anything, because once I did, there was no going back, no pretending, no, maybe it's not what it looks like. So I opened the first one, loan agreement, and there it was, my name, typed, clean, official. Then I scrolled down to the signature, and that's when my hand started shaking, because it looked like mine, not close, not similar. Mine, same loops, same slant, same everything. Except I never signed it. Not once, not ever. And suddenly I understood something that made it even worse. This wasn't just identity theft. They practiced. They studied my signature. Or maybe they'd been using it longer than I realized. I opened the second file. Bank statements. Payments made for almost 2 years. On time. Every month. Until 6 months ago. That's when it stopped. That's when the missed payments started stacking. That's when the calls began. Not to them, to me. Because officially, it was my debt. And that's when it hit me. They didn't just use my identity, they built something on it. Something stable. Something that worked. And then, they let it collapse. And left me under it. I called the credit bureau back. Told them everything. Fraud. Forgery, identity theft, all of it. But the woman's tone changed, not sympathetic, cautious, like she'd heard this before. She said I could file a dispute, open an investigation, but until it was resolved, the account was still mine. The missed payments were still mine. The damage was already happening. I checked my credit score, and I wish I hadn't, because it wasn't just bad. It was destroyed. Years of building, gone, in months, and I hadn't even known it was happening. That's when anger finally replaced the fear, because this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't desperation. This was calculated. They waited until I was gone, until I couldn't see it, until I wouldn't question anything tied to them. And then they used me, like I was still theirs. I tried calling them. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted to hear them deny it, or confess, or anything. But the number was disconnected, both of them, like they vanished. And that's when things got worse, because a week later, I got another call, different number, same tone. Is this regarding your property? Property? Not mortgage, not debt, property. And that word changed everything, because the woman on the line told me something I wasn't expecting. There's been an inquiry to sell. Sell. They were trying to sell the house, the one in my name, the one tied to the loan, the one I never agreed to. And suddenly, I wasn't just a victim. I was the owner, at least on paper, which meant they couldn't sell it without me, unless they'd already figured out a way to fake that too. I asked who made the inquiry, and when she said the name, I went cold, because it wasn't theirs. It was mine. They weren't just using my identity for the mortgage. They were using it for everything, even now, even after the payments stopped, even after the damage started. They were still pretending to be me. And that's when I realized something that made this 10 times worse. They weren't running from this. They were finishing it. I drove there the next day. Didn't think. Didn't plan. Just went. 3 years. And nothing changed. Same house, same driveway, same cracked step I used to trip on. But something felt off. Too quiet. Too empty. I walked up to the door, half expecting it to open, half hoping it wouldn't. And when I knocked, nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no movement. So I tried the handle, and it opened, just like that, inside. It was wrong. Not messy, not abandoned, just stripped. Furniture gone, pictures gone, everything that made it a home, gone. Like they packed up overnight and disappeared. But they left something behind, on the kitchen counter, a single folder with my name on it. I didn't want to open it, but I did. Inside were copies of everything, loan documents, bank statements, even practice sheets, pages and pages of my signature, over and over again, perfected, refined, until it looked exactly like mine. And at the very bottom, a note, just one sentence, written in my mother's handwriting. You said you didn't need us. That's when it finally clicked. This wasn't about money, not really. This was about control. Even after I left, even after I cut them off, they found a way to stay in my life, to shape it, to damage it, to remind me that I wasn't free. But here's the part they didn't think through. They put everything in my name, which means everything they built legally belongs to me. The house, the paper trail, all of it. And when the investigation closed months later and the fraud was confirmed, the debt disappeared, but the ownership didn't. So now I own the house, the same one I ran from, the same one tied to everything I wanted to forget. And I haven't decided what to do with it yet. Sell it, keep it, burn it to the ground. I don't know. But sometimes, late at night, I think about that note, and I wonder if this was their final move or just the beginning of something worse.